அனைவருக்கும் மாலை வணக்கம். உங்கள் அனைவரையும் இன்றைய மைண்ட் யுவர் மைண்ட் வித் ஸ்டீஃபன்ராஜ் நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு வரவேற்கிறேன். இன்றைக்கு நாம் ஒரு சிறப்பான தலைப்பை பார்க்க போகிறோம். பல நாடுகளை பற்றி நம்ம பேசி வருகிறோம். இன்னைக்கு அயர்லாந்து பற்றி கொஞ்சம் தெரிஞ்சுக்க போகிறோம். அங்கிருந்து அங்கே படித்து அங்கே ஒரு 3 வருட காலமாக அங்கே வாழ்ந்த, அங்கிருந்து பல நாடுகளுக்கு சென்று வந்த ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்னு சொல்ல முடியாது. இவங்க பேர் பிரியா ரவிச்சந்திரன். வெல் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ்டு கேர்ள். பார்க்கறதுக்கு சின்ன பொண்ணாக இருப்பாங்க, பட் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் கேர்ள். ஸோ அவங்க மூலயமா நம்ம அயர்லாந்து பற்றி தெரிஞ்சுக்கலாம் அப்படின்றது ஒரு இது. பல நாடுகள், எல்லா நாடுகளை பற்றி பேசணும், அங்கங்கே இருக்கிறவங்களை கூப்பிட்டு பேசணும், அங்கே இருக்கிற கல்ச்சர் பற்றி தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும். அதே மாதிரி நமக்கும் அவங்களுக்கு என்ன வித்தியாசம், எந்தெந்த விஷயங்களை நாம் அவங்கக்கிட்ட இருந்து கற்றுக்கலாம், நாம் எந்தெந்த விஷயங்களை மற்ற கண்ட்ரிங்களுக்கு மற்ற நாடுகளுக்கு கற்றுக் கொடுக்கலாம். இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு பயணமும் நம்மளுடைய மைண்ட் யுவர் மைண்டில் தொடர்ந்து நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு. அதில் இன்னைக்கு நம்ம தெரிஞ்சுக்க போகிறது அயர்லாந்து. அவங்களோட கண்ட்ரியோட விஷயங்கள் என்ன, அவங்களோட கல்ச்சர் என்ன, ஃபுட் என்ன, இவங்க எப்படி அங்கே சமாளித்தாங்க, இந்த வெதர் எப்படி இருந்தது. ஸோ பல விஷயங்களை நாம் கேட்டு தெரிஞ்சுக்கலான்ற ஒரு ஆவலோட இருக்கோம். அவங்க பேசி முடித்த பிறகு நமக்கு என்ன தோணுதோ நிறைய கேள்வியெல்லாம் கேட்கலாம். ஸோ மகிழ்ச்சி. இந்த அரங்கம் பிரியாவிற்காக. பிரியா ரவிச்சந்திரன் இப்போ டிகிரி இன்ஜினியரிங் முடிச்சுட்டு மாஸ்டர் டிகிரி அங்கே பண்ணிட்டு ஒரு எம்என்சியில் ஒர்க் பண்ணுறாங்க. அங்கேயும் ஒர்க் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. 21 கண்ட்ரிகள் அங்கே இது வரைக்கும் ட்ராவல் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அவங்களுக்கு ட்ராவலிங்னா அவ்வளோ பிடிக்கும். ஸோ நிறைய ரவுண்ட்ஸ் போகணும் அப்படின்றது, இன்னும் நிறைய சுற்றணும் அப்படின்றது ஆசை. இது எல்லாருக்கும் இருக்கக்கூடியது தான். பட் அந்தந்த ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டியை நாம் அமைச்சிக்கணும். அது அவங்க கரெக்டாக பண்ணியிருக்காங்கன்றது நினைக்கிறேன். ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி அமையும் போது வாழ்த்துக்கள், எங்களுடைய வாழ்த்துக்கள். இன்னும் மேலும் உயரவும், உங்களுடைய ட்ராவலில் நீங்கள் நிறைய உலகம் பூரா சுற்றவும் நாங்கள் அனைவரும் சேர்ந்து வாழ்த்துக்கிறோம். உங்களுக்கு இந்த மேடை.
Thanks, Stephenraj. That was a very good introduction. நானும் அப்படியே கொஞ்சம் சொல்லிட்டேன்.
ப்ளீஸ்.
அதுதான், அதேதான், ஆல்மோஸ்ட் சேம். இங்கே படித்தேன் ஒரு 4 years. ஒரு 21 வயசு 22 வயசு வரைக்கும் வீடை விட்டு தாண்டினதில்லை. வீடு காலேஜ் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் அவ்வளோதான். ஹாஸ்டல் லைஃப் கூட பார்த்ததில்லை, தனியாக குக் பண்ணதில்லை, வெளியில் போகிறது வர்றது அவ்வளோதான். மேக்ஸிமம் எனக்கு உலகமே அவ்வளோதான் தெரியும். பட் இந்த ஒரு எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் இட் வாஸ் லைஃப் சேஞ்சிங். இப்போ எல்லாமே ஓரளவுக்கு நம்ம சமாளிச்சிடலாம் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு கான்ஃபிடென்ஸ். அதுக்கப்புறம் எங்க போனாலும் ஒருத்தர்கிட்ட போய் பேசுறதோ இதுவோ அதுக்கெல்லாம் இப்போ கூச்சமே கிடையாது. ஸ்ட்ரெயிட்டா போய் பேசிடுவேன். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய விஷயங்கள் இந்த ஹோல் ஜேர்னி ஹேஸ் டாட் மீ. ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இங்கே இன்ஜினியரிங் பண்ணேன். அதுக்கப்புறம் 1 வருஷம் இங்கே ஒர்க் பண்ணேன். அந்த ஒர்க் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ்ல கொஞ்சம் வெளி உலகம் தெரிஞ்சது. சரி, ஓகே, நம்ம காலேஜ் அதுக்கப்புறம் நம்ம ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸை சுற்றி ஒரு கொஞ்சம் எல்டர்ஸோட பழகிறதுக்கான ஒரு சான்ஸ் கிடைச்சிது. ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு கான்ஃபிடென்ஸ் கொஞ்சம் வந்தது. அதுக்கப்புறம் நம்ம எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்ணோங்கிறது இட் வாஸ் ஆல்வேஸ் இன் மை மைண்ட். பட் அந்த இதை உடைக்கணும் அப்படிங்கும்போது மை பேரண்ட்ஸ் வேர் ஆல்சோ வெரி சப்போர்ட்டிவ். தென் மாஸ்டர்ஸ் பண்ணோம் அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு லெவலுக்கு மேலே ஐ டுக் அ டெசிஷன். அதுக்கப்புறம் எந்த கண்ட்ரி போகலாம் அப்படிங்கிறது அந்த கன்ஃபியூஷன் எல்லாருக்கும் இருக்கிறது தான். So I was always attracted towards Europe. Europe has a beauty in itself. Like ஒரு traveling la irundhu ஒரு culture la irundhu, if you take Ireland, they're like very friendly people. So அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு நிறைய விஷயம் அயர்லாந்து அட்ராக்ட் பண்ணுச்சு. இன்னும் செகண்டரி ரீசன்ஸ்ன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, விசா ப்ராசஸ்ல இருந்து ஒரு 1 year கோர்ஸ் பண்றோம். ஃபைனான்ஸ் வாஸ் ஆல்சோ big deal. So finance it was very helpful in a way. அவங்க 1 year course பண்ணும்போது the number of lakhs actually very decreases. Like இந்த நம்மளால சமாளிக்க முடியும் அப்படிங்கிறது Ireland was very good decision in that way. அண்ட் அவங்க விசா ப்ராசஸ் பத்தி ஒரு சின்ன ஹெட்ஸ்அப் கொடுக்குறேன். ஏன்னா எப்படின்னா, இப்போ ஸ்டூடெண்ட் லைஃப்னு போயினீங்கன்னா எல்லா கண்ட்ரீஸ்லயும் 1 இயர் இருக்க விடுவாங்க. அந்த 1 இயர்க்குள்ள உங்களால ஒரு ஜாப் கண்டுபிடிக்க முடிஞ்சுதுன்னா யூஆர் லைக் வெல் இன் சேஃப் ஹேண்ட்ஸ். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டி தான் இருக்கும். பட் அயர்லாண்ட் ஹாஸ் ஓப்பன் அப் தேர் ஹேண்ட்ஸ் ஃபார் 2 இயர்ஸ். ஸோ பேசிக்காக அவங்க கோர்ஸ் முடிச்சதுக்கப்புறம் நீங்கள் ஒரு 2 இயர்ஸ் அங்கே இருந்து வேலை தேடி கண்டுபிடிச்சு அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒர்க் விசால வந்து அங்கே இருக்கலாம். பட் அந்த 2 இயர்ஸ் கேப் கொடுத்ததுனால அயர்லாந்து வந்து இப்ப நிறைய இந்தியன்ஸ் ப்ரிஃபர் பண்றாங்க. நான் போனதுக்கும் இப்ப இருக்கிற அயர்லாண்டுக்குமே வேற லெவல் டிஃபரன்ஸ். there's so many Indians, like Indian faces, South Indian faces, Tamil faces அவ்வளோ ஆயிட்டாங்க. Like I wouldn't see a Tamil face before 3 years in Ireland. Like அவ்வளோ frequent at least we wouldn't see. So that was a very big deal, and that's why Ireland is very attractive to a lot of students. So that's about the student culture. ஸோ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எடுத்தோடனே ஒரு கல்ச்சுரல் ஷாக் மொமெண்ட் அப்படிங்கிறது வந்து அவங்களோட லாங்குவேஜ் தான். இங்கிலீஷ் தான் பேசுறாங்க, சரி ஒரு இங்கிலீஷ் ஸ்பீக்கிங் கண்ட்ரி தான், ஸோ வில் பி சேஃப் அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு மைண்ட் செட் வந்து எல்லாரும் இங்கேருந்து போற எல்லாருக்கும் இருக்கும். பட் அங்க போனா அவங்க பேசுற இங்கிலீஷ் நமக்கு புரியவே புரியாது. தே ஆர் வெரி ஃபாஸ்ட். அண்ட் ஐ திங்க் ஐ ஹவ் காட் தட் இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ் ஆஸ் வெல். லைக் ஒரு 3 இயர்ஸ் அங்க இருந்த போது அந்த சாயல் வந்து அப்படியே லைட்டா வந்துருச்சு. ஸோ தி ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஃபியூ வேர்ட்ஸ் நான் வந்து உங்களுக்கு ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிளுக்கு சொல்றேன். எடுத்தோடனே வாட்ஸ் த கிராக் அப்படின்னு கேட்பாங்க. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் வாட்ஸ் த கிராக்னா என்ன நடக்குது, ஹவ் ஆர் யூ, லைக் என்ன பண்ற, வாட்ஸ் ஹேப்பனிங், அவ்வளவுதான். ஆனா வந்து அது அப்படிலாம் கேட்க மாட்டாங்க. ஹவ் ஆர் யூ அப்படிலாம் கேட்க மாட்டாங்க. வாட்ஸ் அப் அப்படிலாம், வாட்ஸ் த கிராக் அந்த மாதிரி. தே ஹாவ் வெரி டிஃப்ரெண்ட் வேர்ட்ஸ். ஐ எம் ஃபைன் அப்படின்னு சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க. ஐ எம் கிராண்ட். அந்த கிராண்டுங்கிற வார்த்தை வந்து ஐ எம் ஃபைனுங்கிறது புரியுது, அந்த டாட்ஸ் கனெக்ட் பண்ணதுக்கே யூ வில் டேக் சம் டைம். So they have very different words. So that is like they are famous for it as well. And the second shock was their names. அந்த ஸ்பெல்லிங்க்கும் அந்த ப்ரொனன்சியேஷனுக்கும் ஒரு சம்பந்தமே இருக்காது. I'll show you some examples as well. I'll put it in the chat window. So for example AINE வந்து நம்ம எப்படி ப்ரொனவுன்ஸ் பண்ணுவோம், எயின் அப்படிலாம் தான் யோசிப்போம். பட் the pronunciation is Anya. So and they get easily offended as well. So என்னோட பேரை நீங்க தப்பா சொன்னீங்கன்னா கூட I'll be like okay. It will be like a shock moment. So ஆன்யா, அதுக்கப்புறம் AOIFE வந்து ஈஃபா அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. அதே மாதிரி நீஃப், அப்புறம் வந்து SADHBH. இது வந்து எனக்கு வேற லெவல் ஷாக் மூமெண்ட். இட்ஸ் ஆக்சுவலி சேஃப். அப்புறம் வந்து ஷா, அப்புறம் கீவா. ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி வந்து the pronunciation and the names. இது ஏன் நடக்குதுன்னா literally they translate letter by letter from Irish to English. So basically Irish names அதெல்லாம். And that's how that was a very shocking moment. But the one relatable moment was they are like very attached to their family. So இந்த கல்ச்சர் வந்து வெஸ்டர்ன்ல இருக்காது அப்படின்னு நம்ம எல்லாரும் ஒரு மைண்ட் செட்ல போவோம். They're all like not attached to their families அப்படி. But they're very attached to their families. Every weekend, if they are outside the city, let's say they live in Dublin, which is the capital city, and அவங்க பேரண்ட்ஸ் வந்து வேற ஏதோ ஒரு ஊர்ல இருக்காங்க, லைக் சென்னை, பெங்களூர்னு வச்சுப்போமே, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு கம்பேரிசன். They visit every weekend. They spend time with their parents, so they are very attached to their parents, which is very similar to India. One difference would be there's no concept of arranged marriages, so that is still not there. So which was okay, like okay, அது ஒரு one of the western cultures, but they're very attached to their parents. So அவங்க parents இல்லாம ஒரு கல்யாணம் அப்படி நடக்காது அந்த மாதிரி. So a lot of things are similar, a lot of things are not similar. So it's like not so conventional, not so unconventional. And the next thing I would talk about is my college experience. So there's multiple colleges, but the famous one is Trinity College. It's been there for years, and it's kind of like a symbol for Ireland, and it's like one of the top ranking colleges in whole of Europe or whole the world. Adukaduthu vandu there's another college called University College Dublin. So Trinity is more famous for like medical courses under 11th, and UCD is more like University College Dublin, so I'll call it UCD. That's how people call it. So UCD is more famous for like business, technical courses and mari. So I studied in UCD. College வந்து கடல் மாதிரி இருக்கும். Like they have a lake inside, they have a theater inside, they have auditorium. So you could imagine all the fancy college that they show in movies and everything. So that's how my college was. And the course experience was very shocking. Like from India ஒரு engineering படிச்சுட்டு அங்க போய் படிச்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் it was actually pretty easy for me. One, it was all practical, there's only assignments, there's no exams. So it was very interesting. And then I had a classroom where the students were like from, I don't know, from 20 different nationalities. So it was very different experience, like talking to them, everybody reacts in a very different way. சில பேர் வந்து இங்கிலீஷ் அவ்வளோ ஃபாஸ்ட்டாக பேசுவாங்க. There were people from Asia who wouldn't even speak English properly. அந்த மாதிரி வந்து you need to like kind of collaborate and do projects. So there'll be like group projects as well. அப்படியே ரேண்டமாக போடுவாங்க. So this you have to talk to them. You don't have a chance. So that's how it happens. And you get to collaborate. அவங்களோட வியூஸ்லாம் வந்து டிஃப்ரெண்டாக இருக்கும். ஏஷியன்ஸ் டோன்ட் ஸ்பீக் த லாங்குவேஜ், பட் அவங்க ப்ராஜெக்ட் பண்ணும்போது அவங்க வேற மாதிரி அவங்களோட தாட் ப்ராசஸே வேற மாதிரி இருக்கும். ஸோ அதெல்லாம் புரிஞ்சுக்கிறதுக்கு இட் வாஸ் வெரி வெரி டிஃப்ரெண்ட் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ். ஸோ தட்ஸ் ஹவ் மை காலேஜ் வாஸ். அண்ட் housing scenarios is actually pretty messy. ஒரு வீடு கண்டுபிடிச்சு ஒரு இடத்துல செட்டில் ஆகிறதுக்குள்ள you will be like oh my god அது வந்து ஒரு anxiety creating process தான் எல்லாருக்கும். ஒரு ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்க்கு வந்து ஒரு வீடு கண்டுபிடிச்சு, because it's the houses is actually housing scenario is very expensive in Ireland. So for example, ஒரு கம்பேரிசனுக்கு சொல்லணும்னா 1 BHK, 3 people we were staying, like 3 girls we were staying, and we had to pay like 450 euros per head just for a bed and or a kitchen or a normal or a hall. 450 euros is like almost or 50,000. So you could imagine and the marida housing scenario is, it's not pretty good. If you have to stay in the city, because city la neenga vaazhagno, because your college is there, you can't go outside the city and all that. So in city it's pretty crowded, it's crampy and all that, but if you go outside the city, it's like beautiful. You will get a very big house for a better rent. And so that's how Ireland is. And Dublin porthavara, there's so many international people. You could see like multiple nationalities from all over Europe, and Asians, Indians, Americans. So there's so many people, you get to interact with different people. So college course, housing, or else. So with respect to jobs, Dublin has become one of the IT hubs. So literally when the headquarters ellam vandu, they have started moving to Ireland. So Google headquarters, name a company, name like a big IT giant, they will be there. Facebook office, HubSpot office. So there's so many offices. And during the college course, you get to like visit the offices and spend time. So you get like sorry, yeah, perfect. So you get to visit the offices and all. So that is one interesting part of your college. அப்புறம் வந்து ஐரிஷ் லேண்ட்ஸ்கேப்ஸ் பற்றி பேசுவோம். Ireland has 32 different counties. So they have a Northern Ireland and they have Ireland. So Northern Ireland is still part of UK. So UK, Scotland, Britain, Scotland, and Northern Ireland is all like under one roof, and Ireland is in a separate roof. So basically, if you have to cross border, you need a visa. You need a UK visa, so you can't cross borders. That's one thing. And with respect to visa, so it doesn't come under European visa. So even if you have to travel to Europe, like let's say Paris, anywhere in Europe, you need a visa. But it's comparatively it's easier to get a visa from Ireland rather than from India and travel. So travel, I'll just reserve it to the last. So it's a very big topic to talk about. So yeah, they have 32 different counties, and it's a beautiful place. Like wherever you go, it's like all greenery, and it's an island basically. So wherever you go, like towards the coast, it's a very beautiful view. Basically, they have a mountain and they have ocean. So that's how pretty much all Ireland is. So if you just type out in Google Wild Atlantic Way, so they have a very good loop. So if you start from one end of the island, so you could go around. It's a beautiful road trip. And you can't get around without a car in Ireland if you are going somewhere else. So if you're inside the city, you are pretty much sorted. You have public transport everywhere. You have cab service, you have cycles, you have trams, then you have what else? Then you have trains like darts and solvanga. They have different names. So trams, they don't call it trams, it's called luas. And they have trains, they don't call it trains, they call it dart. So it's all very like local specific. So if you get into a country and ask about like train, they would be like, what train? So there's like 3 different type of trains. If it crosses county, it's called something else. So it'd be a little bit weird to getting to know the names of the things around. And you have something called as a leap card, which is like the travel card. So when you get into a bus, you need to like tap the card, recharge the card and tap the card, or you have to put exact change, which is a very big headache. If you don't have change, basically you can't get into a bus if you don't have a leap card. So it's always advised to get a leap card as soon as you land if you're a tourist or a student, etc., etc. But it's still like the best way to get around. Currency is obviously euros, so there's no pounds, nothing else. So normal euros. With respect to jobs, I think I touched upon, but I kind of diverted from there. So with respect to jobs, IT is booming a lot, and after the IT sector, it's always pharma. So they have a lot of pharmacy companies. With respect to other sectors, I wouldn't say there's a lot happening because manufacturing is a little bit less. They rely more on import and exports, and they get a lot of goods from UK. So there's not much happening with regards to agriculture as well. So they have potato. So Irish potato is very famous, and their dairy is very famous. And with respect to meat, their beef and bacon is really famous. So with respect to food, like when you touch upon food as well, their fish and chips is like very famous. Wherever they go, they take pride in their fish and chips. And with respect to food, other than that, I think they kind of like burgers, a lot of beef burgers you could see. And if you walk into a McD and expect some vegetarian option, that's not going to be there. So that's a little bit downside for a lot of Indians. It will be like cultural shock moment. Like there's only salads that you could expect. There's a lot of Indian restaurants, but for the money you pay and the quantity you get, you wouldn't be satisfied. So that is pretty much there in all of Europe. So if anybody who is looking to set up a business, that's your thing. And weather. So weather, if you take about it, it's a pretty annoying weather. So it's always raining. It's always drizzling. It's not raining. So you can't get around the city, or you can't get outside the house in winter. In summer, it's very pleasant. I'll get to it in a minute. So in winter, you need to always have a jacket or an umbrella, whichever suits. So towards the start of the winter, you will be fine without a jacket as well. But like towards December or January, you definitely need a jacket. Otherwise, you're going to freeze. And it's going to be very moist as well. So it's not like dry winter. So it's always humid. So it's always better to carry a jacket. And like if you want mufflers, like if you get ear pains and all that, definitely recommend mufflers. So that's how Irish weather is. And it gets very dark in winter, like over 3 o'clock, and my 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, the sunset happens, and in the morning, 9 o'clock as well, it's dark. So like winters are very gloomy, to be honest. So if you want to get to the office in the dark and come back in the dark, you wouldn't like it. Like I personally experience it. Like, everybody complains about it. Like India's like always bright and sunny, but in Ireland, all the time it's dark in the winter. So you are just sad like thinking about it. In summer it's the reverse. So sun sets only at 9 o'clock, and like you are happy and safe. You can go around anywhere. It's very safe. Like you can come back home even at 10 o'clock, and you wouldn't be like, oh, it's just 4 o'clock in the evening. So that's how your thought process would be. So the transition period is very sad. Like you just don't want winter to come, like literally. And the difference between India and Ireland is 5.5 hours typically in winter, and 4.5 hours typically in summer. So it's very convenient to talk to your home and stuff. So like in the morning, if you're just out of bed, like you could call them. It's like afternoon here, and if you get a break in work or something, like in the afternoon, you could just, like for me, like I always call my home at lunch, my time in Ireland, and it's always evening for my parents. So that's very comfortable, to be honest. Like if you're in US, it's like morning and night, and all that business is not there. And with respect to schooling and healthcare, schooling is completely free for kids, and healthcare, it's not that bad. Like for example, for pregnancy and stuff, it's pretty much free. But you need to like have insurance and everything set if you're like, obviously for pregnancy and for schooling, it's all free. But as a person who's going like as an international person, then you need to always have medical insurance. Otherwise, like even if you go for a doctor, simple doctor visit, it's gonna take like 150 euros, and you don't want to do that. And you don't get pharmacy from a pharmacy. If you want to get a medicine, you're not going to get without a doctor's prescription. So it's not like India, it doesn't work. So yeah, it's always better to have a medical insurance. And with respect to mingling with people, right? Like they mingle on different topics. So one is definitely they take pride in Irish tea. So if you say like you like their tea, then they would be you would be sorted. And the second topic that you could discuss is their weather. So you'd be like, oh, today's gloomy, like today's raining. I'm like, oh, I don't like it. So you can even say I don't like it, but weather is a topic that they usually gel well with. And the other thing is drinking is always part of their culture. So like if you take on Fridays, they are definitely going to be around in a bar. So that is a given. So you could gel well with, like, by talking about it. Even if you're not into drinking, that's a different story. But like if you talk about it, like, oh, what are your plans and all that, so you're going to gel well, really. That's one of the topics. And apart from that, the safety, I haven't faced anything at all. The safety in Dublin, on one end, it's very safe. Like in the southernmost part of Dublin, it's pretty much residential. And in the northern parts, there's a little bit of hassle going around, like pickpockets or like stealing your phones and all that. So there are few incidents, but definitely not. I wouldn't call it like not safe ultimately. And Irish people are really friendly. So if they spot a person who's sitting alone, they'll just come and make a conversation, which is very weird for an Indian to be there. Like you wouldn't talk to strangers, so that's what you're tuned to. So if somebody comes and says hi, and you'll be like, okay, you will be awkward. But eventually, when you're in the country for a long time, even when somebody crosses, you will just say hi. But like obviously, you wouldn't know them. But so that's a very good thing that I notice, and that should be prevalent in India as well. But due to the population and multiple other reasons, that's not there. So what else? And with respect to transport and taking a license and getting around in Dublin, so transport is not that cheap as well. So like if you have a leap card, you are still sorted to an extent. But if you want to get a driving license, it's going to be a very big process. So you need to take lessons, you need to have a car, you need to have an insurance, and even if you have an L, right? Then still you're in a position where you need to have a fully, like, the person with a full driving license need to be around. So it's a very big hassle. And the insurance money is like a lump sum, like 6,000 euros, 7,000 euros. So it's a little bit of hassle. So if you're like getting to Ireland or anywhere in Europe, then your international driving license is valid for a year. So I would highly recommend, if somebody's visiting anywhere in Europe, take that. And the other thing about Ireland is sports. They're like into sports like anything. How cricket is for India, rugby is for Ireland. Like if you talk about a team in rugby, then they will catch you for like hours, and they will talk for like 2 to 3 hours straight. They could make a conversation about it. And they have a very weird sport called hurling, which is like a combination of hockey, and if you guys have watched Harry Potter, then you would know Quidditch. So it's a very adopted version of hurling, is Quidditch. So just Google or like YouTube hurling. It's like a very rough game. You never know when you will be injured and all that, but it's a very interesting game to even watch. And that is pretty much that I had in mind. With respect to the lessons that I would take from Ireland is be more free spirited, like be yourself, just don't think a lot about your future. Like they the people is not oriented towards, you know, saving money. They like live the moment, enjoy the moment. You need to save, yes. So they all buy the houses, they all make investments, they do everything. But at the end of the day, they also enjoy the moment. So if it's going to be summer, or if it's going to be Christmas, so they take a break, they travel, they enjoy the moment, and they spend time. So they make, you know, like equal compartments to everything. So that I found really interesting. And the second thing I would say is the attachment towards family has not deteriorated, even though there's a lot of Western influence. So I think that is something we all have, like Indians have by default. So that I'm going to like retain. So these are the 2 3 things that I kind of notice when I want to kind of have it to myself from the whole Ireland experience. And with regards to traveling, so I was lucky enough, or like I was so planned or calculated enough to like save money, travel, and finish my loans, everything together in the 3 years. So yeah, you need to have compartments of money. So I always do this. So I have a habit. Once my salary comes in, I'll send money home right away, so that I just don't spend that money even for traveling. So which is a good habit of mine. And the second compartment of money is for my rent, and that is like a big amount of money that I usually just send, and then it's forgotten. And the rest of the money is for my travel, my food, everything. I think over the years, like I've learned cooking, washing, anything you name it, all the household chores. So that was a very tough experience at the start, like for all the students out there. They would be like the pampered kid in the house, but you know, you're there out there, and you learn everything by yourself. Yeah, so the next compartment of my money is traveling. So how I usually plan is I just go to Skyscanner. There's this website called Skyscanner. So I'll just go check for flights first. So flights is one of the major expense, and it's an island, so you cannot obviously go by any other mode of transport. It's going to be flight. So I'll just check my flights, whichever country is cheaper, because I had a Schengen visa, so I could travel anywhere in Europe. I had the liberty. And with respect to my work, I had my work, like my workplace sponsored UK visa and US visa. I was fortunate enough, so I got all that sorted as well. And so there's no restriction as to where I can travel because of visa at one stage. But I had applied for 3 times, and they gave me 1 month, 2 months, and then they gave 3 years. So it's a hassle, but it has to be done if you want to travel. So this traveling was like more of planning before you travel and enjoy when you are traveling. So if you do that, it will be like a very nice experience on the whole. So I'm just going to tell like the places that I liked over the years that I've traveled. So I've seen Northern Lights. That's one of the best experience that I had. Like, so I went to Iceland right before all this COVID scenario happened. I was lucky enough. So Iceland was a magical experience. So they had a black sand beach, and there was snow everywhere. Like, to see a place which is full of snow for an Indian, it was magical. And then I had a chance to see all the geese. So there's this blast happening, and then you're right next to it, and then nothing happens. So all the nature by itself. So Iceland is amazing. So that's one of my favorite countries. And then I'm into adventure sports as well. So I got a chance to do skydiving. It was a moment where I was like, okay, why am I doing this to myself? So I was in that position. And then at one stage, I was like, I felt liberated doing that. It's like, I should probably do more of it, like after I did that. But before that, obviously, I didn't get sleep for a night. It was a hilarious experience. And then I've also done hot air balloon rides. So it was a very nice experience. It was not adrenaline rush or anything, but it was a very pleasant. So they put you in a hot air balloon. This was in Turkey. So they put in a balloon. There's like multiple people, like around 12 people or something, and it goes on top, and it's the landscape that I went to, it was all more of a desert, and it was like a sand dune experience. So that was magical as well. And I've seen, so I went to New York. So New York was like, even in the night at 1 o'clock, it's all like hustle bustle. It's all full of lights, which is a very different experience. So I don't usually like to go to cities, but I like New York because you would be like, okay, there's so many people, so many lights, and you see the time and you would be surprised. So it's like 11 o'clock in the night or 12 o'clock in the night. So that's how New York is. And with respect to London, so I personally didn't like London because I felt there's a lot of people around. Even though New York had a lot of people around, but like the magical skyscrapers and everything kind of got me thinking. But London was totally different. I've been to London multiple times, so that was also probably one of the reasons I didn't like London. There's so many Indians around, and there's so many people around, and definitely the culture and the history and all that I could understand. But so the one major reason that didn't attract me was the crowd. Like, so if you go to Tinagar, you wouldn't like the crowd sometimes. So London was like that to me, and I personally didn't like it, but it was a very nice city. Again, the same with Paris. Call me weird, but yeah, but I didn't like Paris either. So Paris was like full of people. Like, I went for New Year and I was like, why did I even come here? So I was always conscious as to when people will steal what. So I was wearing a sling bag and I was like, oh my God, my passport should be safe, my phone should be safe. So that was all in my mind and I was not enjoying the experience. So, but Eiffel Tower was magical in the night, and trust me, it was like a phone tower in the morning. So that was how I saw Eiffel Tower. So I was in the Louvre Museum, which is from where you could see the Eiffel Tower. So there's a viewpoint, and I was like, okay, there's some tower, and then people said, oh, that's the Eiffel Tower. So I was like, oh, okay. Then when I went near that, I was like, okay, that's really nice. And in the nights they have sparkling lights every 1 hour, and that was magical. Like, that was the best part about Paris. And what else? So I've been to Netherlands as well. So Netherlands has a very rich culture, like Ireland. So Ireland, they have a festival called St. Patrick's Day where they dress up with all the skirts that we were talking about. So they have a symbol called shamrock, which is like a three-flowered green leaf, and they all dress up in green and they all drink, which is something in green. They have a lot of drinks on that day and they dance like anything they let loose. So that's what St. Patrick's Day is all about. But it traces to the history of St. Patrick himself. So he lived there, and then there's no reptiles in Ireland, which is a surprise. But it was actually demolished way long ago. There's a big story behind it, but you could just give a read by saying St. Patrick's. And yeah, so going back to the Netherlands story. So Netherlands has a very rich culture again. So they have a lot of different foods. They have this waffle. They're famous for their cheese, and obviously it's like the city is bustling all the time, like France or London or anywhere else. So Amsterdam is bustling. And from Amsterdam, I traveled to different places, but one of the places that's very closer to my heart is Prague. It's in Czech. So Prague was like a perfect balance of a city without crowd, and they had this Christmas market, and it was beautiful. So the Christmas market in all over Europe is like the best. In Germany, it's really, really, really nice, and in Hungary, it's really nice because they have every year this competition sort of thing going on, like which country does it better, which is the best Christmas market and all that thing. And I was fortunate enough to go to Hungary once, and I visited Christmas markets in Germany and in Prague. So Prague was one of my favorites. It's like it was all like twinkling lights, and they had so much different food. They had waffles. It's like, if you go to any other Tiruvira in India, it's like that, but it's very different. There's so many people around, and it's all twinkling lights. So if you ever get a chance to go to like Europe, in winter, then pick a season which is very close to Christmas and visit the Christmas markets. It's really, really nice. And the other thing I went in Germany was Alps. So I got a chance to visit. There's this peak called I forgot the name, but yeah. So I went to one side of the Alps, which is like the highest point in Germany, and again same snow experience, so I was all like jumping around in joy. And I tried skiing and it didn't go well. So skiing obviously need to be learned over years, and I didn't do that. So I tried doing a sledge and I fell down, and unfortunately or fortunately nothing happened to me. But yeah, I rolled around thrice and I fell down. It was a very funny experience now if I think about it, but at that time it was really scary. So all the sports never goes well all the time, so it was a very scary experience. And yeah, I missed a lot of countries, so I had planned for Switzerland and Greece like after the COVID period, so I had booked my tickets and everything, but unfortunately I couldn't go. And another place which is very close to my heart is Croatia. Croatia is like nature by itself. So it's like the prettiest place you could visit. Like if you're a beach person, then go for Croatia. And it has the perfect summer, it has the perfect sailing and winter activities. If you like scuba, then Croatia is your place. So I could go on talking about travel, so probably I'll leave it at this point. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Really, so interesting, Ma. You've done your best sharing the experience as a student, as a, I mean, office staff of working in office and traveling. How many years you stayed, Ma? You traveled to 21 countries, means how many days of travel you've done?
Next question. So I stayed overall 3+ years in Ireland. So I went in 2017 August, and I came recently. It's been just 2 months that I came here. Like in the start of February, I came back. With regards to travel, like the first 1 year when I was a student, obviously I was bankrupt. I didn't have any money to travel, so I didn't take a chance even. And the second year, I slowly started traveling. So like my first country was obviously like towards Turkey, because the getting a visa was very easier for Turkey. Like getting Schengen visa was a hassle. So, but if you get Schengen visa, you could travel like a lot of countries. So I usually plan in a way in December. If I go around, I will go to 2 to 3 countries together, because you know in it's like going from Chennai to Bangalore. You could jump from one country to another in Europe. So I have done like let's say like 9 to 10 trips, but I have covered 20 countries. Like that's how it's done.
Good. Happy. இது நான் ஆக்சுவலா எனக்கு என்ன டவுட் இருந்ததுன்னா, முதல்ல அயர்லாந்து போறப்பே ஷெங்கன் விஷயோட போனியா?
Ireland போறப்போ Ireland விசாவோட போனேன். So Ireland visa is different, Schengen is different, and UK is different. So Ireland has their own visa, their own rules, and their own restrictions. And the country மட்டும் தான் போக முடியும்.
But it is not cover under யூரோப்ல வரல, அயர்லாந்து வரல.
Ireland is separate.
ஓகே. அதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் ஷெங்கன் விஷா எடுத்தேன் இல்லையா? ஷெங்கன் விஷா வந்து எத்தனை கண்ட்ரிக்கு எலிஜிபிள்?
Schengen வந்து யூரோப்ல இருக்கிற எல்லா கண்ட்ரீஸ்க்கும் தே கவர், ஈவன் தோ அவங்க வந்து அந்த யூரோப்பியன் யூனியன்ல இல்லைனா கூட. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ரொமேனியா இஸ் நாட் இன் யூரோப்பியன் யூனியன், பட் Schengen விசா வச்சு யூ கேன் கோ டு ரொமேனியா அண்ட் தே வில் ஜஸ்ட் see okay இந்த விசா இருக்கு, so you are allowed inside the country. So pretty much everywhere in Europe except for Ireland and UK.
ஓகே. பட் முன்னாடி இருந்தது யூகேக்கு, இப்பதான் இல்ல ஆக்சுவலா.
யூகேக்கு இங்க இருந்து அப்ளை பண்ணீங்கன்னா, so there's something called BIVS விசான்னு சொல்வாங்க. So you use it for Ireland and Europe. Ireland and UK. So in the overall 3 yearsல வந்து I took my parents as well. So அந்த டைம் வந்து they applied for Irish visa, but we went to London as well. So you could cover both the countries. So there's a stamp called BIVS, and the stamp உங்களுக்கு கொடுத்தாங்கன்னா you could go to 2 countries. If they are not giving, then you have to stick to Ireland. You have no other choice.
All are personal trips or any official trips, Ma?
Good question. So நான் போனது வந்து ஸ்டூடெண்ட் விசால போனேன். So there's like multiple visas obviously. Student visa வந்து is the visa that you enter the country with, because I was doing masters. And after that there's a visa called 1G. அதுதான் வந்து இந்த 2 வருஷம் after your course you can stay in the country to search a job னு சொன்னேன்ல. So that is 1G, graduate visa. And after that when you go to work, like if your company sponsors, then you get into a work visa. So that is one. Other than you have tourist visa. So tourist visa is usually like 3 months, 1 month, based on your application and how much funds you show. Other base money they will give.
நீங்க அபிஷியலா எதுவும் போல, எல்லாமே டூர் தான்.
நான் அப்ளை பண்ணது வந்து யூகேவும் யுஎஸும் தான் அபிஷியலா அப்ளை பண்ணேன். அதுவும் அகைன் வந்து they will have tourist/official visaங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு they have a slab. So multiple slabs இருக்கும். டாக்குமெண்ட்ஸ் நம்ம என்ன சப்மிட் பண்றோங்கிறது மட்டும் இட் வில் டிஃபர். ஸோ எனக்கு வந்து யூகேக்கு நான் பண்ணும்போது லைக் ஃபார் மை ஒர்க் அஸ் வெல் ஐ டிராவல் கப்புள் ஆஃப் டைம்ஸ். மை ஒர்க் ரெக்வயர்ட் டிராவல் விச் இஸ் ஆல்சோ குட் ஃபார் மீ. அப்போ வந்து ஐ காட் டாக்குமெண்ட்ஸ் ஃப்ரம் ஆஃபீஸ். ஒரு லெட்டர் கேட்பாங்க, லைக் இங்கே தான் நான் ஒர்க் பண்ணுறேன், என்னோட ட்ரிப்ஸ் எல்லாம் வில் பி டேக்கன் கேர் ஆஃப் மை ஒர்க்குங்கிற மாதிரி தே வில் கிவ் அ லெட்டர். அந்த லெட்டர் கொடுத்து நம்ம விசா அப்ளை பண்ணால் தே வில் பி கிளியர் இட் ஆஃப் அந்த மாதிரி. So you could apply either and use it interchangeably.
Very happy that at this age, young age, she has and the parents also.
Great.
Obviously, like they also have to experience it, no?
Priya, அங்க see 1 year course பண்ணும்போது part time job பண்ணீங்களா?
Okay, so yeah, I think I missed this part time whole topic. So you could get a part-time job. So I personally was not interested in doing like a part-time job. What I did was I associated myself with a dance school. Now in the dance, like I have been dancing from childhood. So I took classes, dance classes, and I kind of earned money from that, and I used that for my expenses there. So that is one option. That was a smart option, easy, lesser work, and you get money and you can sort your life. But obviously you could work in bigger chains like McD, Topaz no chain irukum, Topaz or Circle K now it's called. It's like a petrol bunk shop. So அங்க வந்து டில்ஸ்ல அந்த மாதிரிலாம் ஒர்க் பண்ணுவாங்க. The other good thing that I noticed is நம்ம இந்தியாவில் வந்து there's this labor parity மாதிரி ஒரு ஸ்மால் கான்செப்ட் இஸ் there. ஸோ நம்ம ஊர்ல சர்வரா ஒர்க் பண்ணா அதுக்கு வந்து மரியாதை இருக்காது. அங்கெல்லாம் வந்து சர்வரா ஒர்க் பண்ணாலும் அதே ஈக்குவல் மரியாதை they will give. That is also a profession. அந்த மாதிரி தான் how they think is that. So yeah, like you could work in any department store or like Indian store la poi work panna, or you could work in a Delhi na basically onnu illa, like subway la irupangala, subway ku pinnadi vandu they will arrange the bread and all that thing. So அந்த மாதிரி டெல்லிஸ் நிறைய இருக்கும். ஸ்பார், டெஸ்கோ and Lidl தான் வந்து அந்த ஊர்ல சூப்பர் மார்க்கெட்ஸ். So நம்ம ஊர்ல எப்படி நீல்கிரிஸோ அந்த மாதிரி அங்க they have a chain of supermarkets, so you could work there. அந்த மாதிரி multiple options இருக்கு, and you could be a teaching assistant. But teaching assistant positions are very less, so they will be highly competitive as well. So it depends. அந்த மாதிரி you can do multiple things, but when you're a student you can't work more than 20 hours in a week. Otherwise you can't, obviously, like by law you can't work. You can't concentrate on your studies in Gramadri. They have this clause. So after that you get to work 40 hours a week. And with respect to work culture, same, like 9 to 5 na 9 to 5. After that they don't work. Out of your own will you can work, but 9 to 5 is 9 to 5. And Fridays 5 o'clock kuda irukadhu, adukku munade kelambiruvanga. And this good thing about them is they come early and they leave early, like on time, clock vecha madri. And if it's gonna be lunch, they'll be like sharp 12 o'clock, they'll go for lunch. All this is good with respect to work culture and part times.
ஸ்டார்டிங்ல ஒரு விஷயம் சொன்னீங்க, சி போன உடனே அவங்களோட தாட் ப்ராசஸே வேற மாதிரி இருந்து நம்மளோட தாட் ப்ராசஸ்க்கு செட் ஆகல அப்படின்ட்டு. அது என்ன எனக்கு புரியல.
இந்த டாபிக்ல லைக்
ஸ்டார்டிங்ல போய் இறங்கின உடனே, அயர்லாந்துல இறங்கின உடனே உடனே அவங்களோட திங்கிங் ப்ராசஸ் வேற மாதிரி இருந்தது. அதாவது லாங்குவேஜ் எல்லாம் சொன்னீங்க, பேசுறதுல அதெல்லாம் டிஃபரெண்ட், தாட் ப்ராசஸ்ல டிஃபரெண்ட் இருந்ததுன்னு சொன்னீங்க நீங்க. அது என்னன்றது கேக்குறேன்.
With regards to the assignments I was talking about, okay. With regards to assignments or in work, ரெண்டுமே நான் சொல்றேன். With regards to assignments, நம்ம வந்து Indians வந்து we go very in depth with the details. அவங்களோட தாட் ப்ராசஸ் என்னன்னா அந்த ப்ராப்ளம் சால்வ் ஆகணும், அவ்வளவுதான். நம்ம வந்து அதுக்கு ஒரு 100 ஆர்டிகல்ஸ் படிப்போம். at the end of the day we come up with the same solution. அவங்க வந்து ஈஸியா இந்த வேலையை எப்படி ஈஸியா முடிக்க முடியும், 1 hourல அசைன்மெண்ட் முடிச்சோமா போனோமா அப்படி. that thought process is very nice in a way. And அவங்களோட math capabilities வந்து obviously is not comparable to ours. மேத்னா எனக்கு வேண்டாம் அப்படின்னே போயிடுவாங்க. And with respect to technical side of things as well, they'll be like, இப்போ ஒரு வெப்சைட்ல ஒரு ஸ்மால் HTML கோட் அடிக்கிறது கூட நோ 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 யூ டூ இட் இந்த அசைன்மெண்ட்ஸ்லாம் வரும்போது. And they're very good in talking, so they're like, oh, I'll do the presentation and you could do the technical pieces, which is not good in a way, ஏன்னா வந்து you don't get the chance. So yeah, இந்த மாதிரி தாட் ப்ராசஸ் வந்து எப்படி ஈஸியா முடிக்கலாம், நம்ம வந்து அதை கஷ்டப்பட்டு பண்ணுவோம், அதை அவங்க டப்புன்னு முடிச்சுட்டு போயிடுவாங்க. So that is one thing that I noticed in work as well. ஒர்க்லயும் அவங்க அப்படிதான் அந்த அசால்ட்டா இருக்கிறது வந்து ஐ திங்க் at the end of the day they are getting what they want, அச்சீவ் பண்ணிடுறாங்க. நம்ம வந்து அது கொஞ்சம் ஓவரா ப்ரெஷர் எடுத்துக்கிறோமோ, இந்தியன்ஸ்க்கு வந்து அது நேச்சுரலாவே வரும், அந்த ப்ரெஷர் எடுத்துக்கிற அந்த ஆங்ஸைட்டி அண்ட் ப்ரெஷர். அவங்க வந்து ஒர்க்னா அது ஒர்க் 9 to 5 பண்றோம், அவ்வளவுதான். நம்ம வந்து ஒர்க் தான் நமக்கு லைஃபே அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி we do it, which is sad in a way. Probably அது வந்து நம்ம we should draw a line, இதுதான், அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து we shouldn't do. And with respect to like leave எடுக்கிறது and all that, I have noticed this with my managers. Leave எடுக்கிறேன்னா okay fine, we will manage, others will manage the workload, you need to take leave, you need to go, you can go. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு கான்செப்ட் வந்து இந்தியால கிடையாது. there is work needs to be completed, அதுக்கப்புறம் நீ எங்க வேணா போ. லைக் பர்சனல் லைஃப் ப்ரொஃபஷனல் லைஃப் செப்பரேட் பண்றது, all that is something I think Indians could improve on possibly, but it is changing a lot. like என்னோட புது ஒர்க்ல வந்து I feel the same freedom that I got in Ireland, the Irish team or the people that I work with. So yeah, it's improving, but it could still be improved in like Indian MNCs, or that's a big difference that I found.
Good. Okay, வாங்க சார், வேற யாரனா கேக்குறீங்களா ஏதாச்சும்? சார் வாங்க, குட் ஈவினிங். நான் சேகர் சார்.
Good evening. Good to see you all. I'm very quite impressive, Priya. You are bubbling with a lot of enthusiasm. I'm quite impressed. And within 3 years, you could cover so many countries, and you collected so many inputs there. And you are a good learner, I could see. Excellent. That's a good trait. That's why we have to build up our career and keep a broader vision to the world, so that we outsmart many people. And I'm sure you are outsmarted in your 3 years period, many guys there in Ireland. And I'm very happy. And you have been venturing a lot to see how the world is in front of us. That is the quality I always appreciate. Let us not go into a shell. Let us keep our eyes and ears open and see what's happening around. That's why we can build up ourselves. Excellent. And are you going back to Ireland? When are you going back to Ireland?
Thank you. So thank you for all the input and appreciation. But I made a choice to come back and to be with family. I would not stop exploring, but definitely not Europe. Probably in Asia, I would be exploring this time.
Okay.
And I'm going to be around here, and I want to always settle in India. Though I have explored everything else, my heart's always here. Like I just want to be around friends, family, and all that. So yeah, back home. So I got a job back in here. Like I work for Freshworks now.
Which one?
Freshworks. It's in Chennai.
Freshworks அப்படின்ற கம்பெனில
Okay.
அம்மா அப்பா கல்யாணம் பண்ணி வைக்கணும்ன்ற ப்ரெஷர்ல சென்னைக்கு வந்தாங்க.
Oh, excellent. Hearty wishes, best wishes.
வேற ஒண்ணும் இல்ல, விட்டா பறந்துருவாங்க.
Good.
இவன் கல்யாணத்துக்கு அப்புறம் பறப்பாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
That's what she indicated. I'll go back with the family again.
Yeah,
okay, good.
That's also one of the reasons, but definitely வீட்டுக்கு வரணும்ங்கிறது it has been always in my mind, like even when I left here. So 3 years was a good time, and I explored, and with this COVID scenario, I don't think I'll be able to travel there. So there's no point staying for a longer time.
No. All our best wishes that you find a nice match here who matches your bubbling enthusiasm and vision. Definitely, all our wishes are with you. And I have a very simple question, Priya. I've been to Scotland. I have not been to Ireland. I've been to Scotland. What is the major difference between Scotland and Ireland, living wise? Any idea?
Scotland. Okay, Scotland. And I've been to Scotland as well, but there's not much. To be honest, the landscape is pretty much the same. It's as beautiful as it can get.
Right.
And the Irish and the Scottish accent is even weirder. You don't understand any other thing. But with respect to the living, I think the cost of living is definitely a little bit more, like a little bit higher on the higher side.
Where in Ireland?
In Ireland, it's a little bit on the higher side. Scotland as well is the same. If you take Glasgow and Edinburgh, it's going to be expensive. But if you go inside, like interior to the highlands and all that, it's going to be a little bit cheaper. It's the same. Dublin is expensive, and there's this another city called Galway. Galway is expensive. There's like a couple of cities in Ireland. It's going to be expensive. But other than that, if you go interior, it's going to be a little bit cheaper. And obviously pounds and euros difference, so there's going to be like 1.5 conversion rates. So yeah, it's pretty much similar, and I feel like Irish are more social. They are like lovely people, but Scottish, I didn't feel like they want to make a conversation with foreigners, and I felt that a little bit weird, like a little bit different. Living in Ireland, it's like I see people, even though you don't want to talk to them, they catch you and they talk for hours.
Right.
So I felt Irish is more like Ireland people are more warm. Like
Good.
they're actually known for it. Like all over the world, they are known for their friendliness, which is good.
Yeah, in Scotland also I saw a lot of our Tamil boys and girls.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of
Scotland. And in fact, I met one of the boy in the restaurant only. So I stayed there. I was on a business visit. I stayed there for 4-5 days. We were to take over a company from there. So that's the purpose I went there. And of course, since we have gone on a business visit, the reception was very good. So I didn't have to struggle anything for that. They are there at your doorstep. And I went to the Indian restaurant in Glasgow. I forgot the hotel name. There's a ship parked opposite to the hotel. There's a canal and I used to go to the Indian restaurant opposite to the hotel. And a couple of days and the boy came, sir, are you from Tamil Nadu? I said, yeah, very much. And then he said he's from Salem side, somewhere Salem, and he's doing a master's there. And then the next day I invited him to come to the hotel, and he brought us Sri Lankan Tamil also to come and see me, and the Malaysian Tamil also. So we're all staying there, and they make a good company there, Tamils, wherever they go. And that's how they manage. In fact, it's now a doctor couple, but managing expenses is very costly there. Very costly. And a friend of mine who studied the engineering, his son was studying in Edinburgh. Then this friend now is in Bombay. He requested, since you are in Glasgow, can you just make a trip to Edinburgh and see my son also? I went to Edinburgh, and then I met this boy, and this boy took me around that castle, and this whole day spent with me. Then I got to know from these two batches of students how they are managing there. Pretty similar what you said, but the dignity of the labor is there. Nobody thinks it's inferior or something like that, and it is definitely people respect them. I think per hour they are paid around $5 or something like that, if I remember correctly. 2005. That is 2005 I'm talking about it.
Oh, probably. Now it's around like 10 to 12 euros an hour, around that. If it's going to be pounds, it will be like the 11 pounds or something around those lines.
Right. He comes after the college hours, 2-3 hours to work there, and then gets back. And he was staying in this YMCA sort of like that in there also. People stay attached to a church. They go and stay there. Yeah. So it's like good place to live, and of course it's very gloomy weather there, but beautiful landscaping everywhere. I don't know how they made this. Nature has made. I don't think the people have made it.
They preserve it, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, beautiful landscape actually. Nice experience. And you brought back. Of course, I have not listened to you fully, but whatever you said is, I gone back to 2005. What I saw, excellent. Thank you. Best wishes, and all your dream comes true. Best wishes to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Prakasha, basically.
One more question. Why you have not preferred to stay in the hostel? Is there hostel facilities available in those countries? College hostel facilities, or just to, as you said, to teach the Bharatanatyam, I mean, dance to other people and earn, and for those reasons you prefer to stay in a rental house?
Okay, so they have college hostels, they have college accommodation. So it's basically online hostels. So they have separate buildings where you can just get an apartment as such. So you could share the apartment or you can get an apartment. But the price is like double the price of what you pay outside. So that is the major reason. For safety reasons, usually like people take in the first semester, and sometimes they have like a commit for a year. So it gets very expensive, and you could rather live outside and then like save up money. That is one of the reasons. And I was always living around Indians, so like my first house was with an Irish landlady. It was a very nice experience. So living with somebody who's totally not your type, and like this incident happened. So I just was cooking in rice cooker, and they've never seen rice cooker in their life, and the whistle kind of came out and she got petrified. Something happened to the house. So she came running. I was like, nothing to worry about. It's called pressure cooker. That's how we cook rice in India. And then she tasted my rice and all that, and she was like, oh, I've never got rice in this consistency. They do consume rice, but in a very rare occasion. I've never got rice in this consistency. It's like always hard. And that was one funny instance. So she had a small dog as well, and the dog was barking for like 1 hour continuous, listening to the whistle sound. So yeah, like basically it's up to you, your choice. But most of the Indians, obviously for money reasons, so if you pay from INR to like like euros, it's gonna be lakhs and lakhs of money. So you could rather just save up half the money instead and like do part-time, and it's much better quality as well. Like you can play with your friends, so more of freedom. A lot of different things, but it's all obviously your choice.
Then what is the, I mean, one more suggestion I expect. You said that the language, what they speak, the style of language which our people, though they are good at English, they cannot understand. Such being the thing, what's your suggestion before going to Ireland? Is there any course to be undergone, or is there any material available to understand their English?
No, to be honest, I think it comes out of experience. You just have to talk to them a lot, and maybe like movies could help to an extent, but definitely it will be like the first 1 to 2 months you would understand it, but you could just say pardon or like say sorry and ask for it again, and tell them to like talk slowly. But I think for me it didn't take a long time to adjust. I will just Google whatever they say like immediately, and I'm like, what is grand? Like what is like what's the crack and all that. Like I'll watch YouTube videos, and then you will just go along the way. Like you'll just go with the flow. I think that's much better. Like taking courses and taking all to a head wouldn't work, to be honest.
Good. You can do one thing, Priya. அங்க என்னெல்லாம் வேர்ட்ஸ் டிஃபரன்ஸ் இருக்குன்னு கரெக்டா எழுதிட்டு ஒரு வீடியோ பண்ணி போட்டுங்க.
Sure. I think it's there on YouTube already. Like in the names எல்லாம் சொன்னேன்ல, so அந்த விஷயம் வந்து they have already made there's a lot of mockery going on. ரொம்ப அந்த ஐரிஷ்ல அங்க கலாய்க்கிறதுக்கே அத்தனை வீடியோஸ்லாம் இருக்கும். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி சும்மா கூகுள் பண்ணி ஃபன்னா இருக்கும் அதெல்லாம் பார்க்கறதுக்கு. பட் if you want to really like அங்க போய் அட்ஜஸ்ட் ஆகணும் அப்படின்னா like just listen actively, and listen active பண்ணாலே வந்து you will be able to adjust, and they know okay புதுசா வந்திருக்காங்கன்னா they themselves will adjust. அந்த மாதிரி they will talk slow and all that, but it takes a while. அவ்வளவுதான்.
It happens to every country mostly. தட்டு யூரோப்ல போனோம்னாலும் நமக்கு ஒவ்வொரு இடத்துலயும் அந்த டிஃபரன்ஸ் இருக்கும், நிச்சயமா இருக்கும். See, we need to plan. அதுதான் மெயின். அதுதான் அந்த ஒரு எய்மோட போனோம். நாம as it is போக கூடாதுங்க. அதுதான் மெயின்.
No, for me, I went literally like blank. I know Ireland. There's all this myth that they were telling about. I know, okay, Dublin the capital. I was calling Dublin as Dublin for a long time. அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் okay அது Dublin தான் Dublin கிடையாது அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி like you like learn along the way. அந்த மாதிரி சொன்னா சில பேர் அஃபெண்ட் ஆயிடுவாங்க. அதெல்லாம் வந்து you will learn eventually. அது வந்து எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் தான்.
Correct. பிரகாஷ் சார் பேசுறீங்களா?
Yes, sir. Madam, if I remember correct, I think this Finland, Ireland, and all, they are top. I mean, in corruption index somewhere I read so.
Corruption index. I don't think Ireland is, to be honest. The country ரொம்ப small country. Finland probably yes. Finland is a little bit like bigger country.
டாப்ல இருக்கு.
Finland வந்து bigger country, there's more chances. இங்க வந்து politics பாத்தீங்கன்னா there's only 2 different parties. பெருசா வந்து இப்போ வந்து எப்படி blame game ஆடுவாங்கல்ல, அந்த blame game கூட நான் நிறைய பார்த்தது கிடையாது அயர்லாண்ட்ல. So it's more like இந்த கவுண்டி வந்து இவங்களுக்கு சப்போர்ட் பண்றாங்கன்னா the whole county kind of support. அப்படிதான் யூசுவலா இட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ். they prefer local people ரொம்ப புஷ் பண்ணுவாங்க. கவுண்டி சைட் போகும்போது இன்னும் நிறைய டிஃபரன்ஸ் தெரியும். they love their counties more and இந்த விஷயம் நான் நிறைய நோட்டீஸ் பண்ணிருக்கேன். அந்த ஃபேமிலி நேம்ஸ் இருக்கும். அந்த ஃபேமிலி நேம்ஸ்னா they support each other. there's only like very less number of family names like Carols. அது மாதிரி ஒரு 4-5 ஃபேமிலி நேம், 4-5 இல்ல ஒரு 15-20 ஃபேமிலி நேம்ஸ் இருக்கும். they support each other, they like a community அந்த மாதிரி. But other than that, there's no concept of this racism and all that. கொஞ்சம் வந்து அந்த county side போகும்போது they take pride in Irish more, but I have never seen like okay like ஒரு international person வந்து சுத்தமா வெல்கம் பண்ணாம அந்த மாதிரி எதுவும் பார்த்தது இல்ல. Politics is almost pretty much the same. The campaignsலாம் கூட very subtle. I don't think there's corruption rates, but எனக்கு வந்து like for me personally one incident happened which was not that great. Like I was walking in a road, like I had my phone and my phone was stolen. Like I was just walking with the phone at the car where I was walking. At that time it was stolen and I went to police. The police there, it's called Garda station boy. I was trying to complain for 1 hour, but the complaint they took after like 1 hour and then there was no action. So which is sad part. Like அந்த மாதிரி விஷயங்கள்லாம் இருக்கு, it persists. But obviously there's a lot of other areas are good. Negatives வந்து very less தான் அந்த country compare பண்ணும்போது. So it's fine. Part and parcel. Everywhere there's corruption, everywhere there's theft, everywhere there's something or the other happening. But over the 3 years இந்த மாதிரி incidents வந்து that I've heard of is very very less. The similar to that corruption that I've heard of is really really less. I think Finland is probably the one, and it's kind of getting confused all the time.
Yeah, fine.
Thank you sir. Population density எப்படி மாறுது? எவ்வளவு population அங்க?
Okay, population density, Dublin is way populated. It's not Irish people, but international people நிறைய இருக்கறதுனால the density is high. With respect to population, I'll just give a quick Google search. County kulla poga the number of people is very 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 less. I would say like ஒரு ஊர்னு எடுத்தா you can go in some thousands தான், அவ்வளவுதான் இருப்பாங்க. Yeah, usually like when you go interior to the county அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கும்போது it's very pleasant. So if you live, let's say நான் ஒரு ஊருக்கு போய் I was taking dance classes called Cavan. அங்க வந்து நிறைய இந்தியன்ஸ் இருந்தாங்க. அவங்க ஃபேமிலி, அவங்க வீடெல்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா it will be like a 3 BHK, அதே மாதிரி 3 stories, 1-2 floors இருக்கும். So they lived in a lavish house. So அந்த ஊர்ல அந்த வீடு வந்து they can afford. So அந்த மாதிரி தான் பாப்புலேஷனே வந்து ரொம்ப லெஸ்ஸா தான் இருக்கும். But in Dublin the population is way too high. I just gave a Google search, so it's around 49-50 lakhs.
Okay, அது பாத்துக்கலாம். It's okay. Telephone chargesலாம் எப்படி?
Phone charges is very affordable. It's like ஒரு மந்த்க்கு வந்து 15-16 அது வந்து you could make international calls for 10 cents அந்த மாதிரி. So most of the times it's like Wi-Fi will be there everywhere, and வீட்ல Wi-Fi setup is again like 40-45 euros per month, which is split again by multiple people. So it's affordable தான் எல்லாமே. But food every day if you eat outside, that's gonna be expensive. ஏன்னா ஒரு மீல் வந்து ஒரு 10-15 euros ஆயிடும். அப்படி if you eat McD and Burger King, அப்படி ஆகும். If you eat in hotel like proper fine dine experience, அப்படிலாம் போனா 40-50 euros per head. So that is like once in a month அந்த மாதிரி experience, or like couple of times a month is fine. But அந்த மாதிரி சாப்பிட்டுட்டே இருந்தா அவ்வளவுதான் முடிஞ்சது. So that's why people start cooking at home and they want Indian flavor. That is also a reason. And food wise, there'll be a lot of frozen food and mari nariya irukum. Like you could just grab some of those, put it in the grill, eat them and mari. So yeah, it's pretty handy. So adala prachane illa, everything you can manage. And
Thank you.
Cycling is a very good experience. It's an easier way to save money in the transport and mari illama you could just go cycling. That's all. Those are the ways, like expenses wise adhalam da vera edhum I couldn't remember of anything else.
So nice. ஐஸ்லாண்ட்ல போனீங்கல்ல, அங்க ஸ்டே எல்லாம் எப்படி இருந்தது உங்களுக்கு?
Iceland was very Iceland illa, as and when in Europe le na solren, as and when you go on top, the expenses get higher and higher. If you go to Iceland or any Scandinavian countries, the expenses are gonna be super high. அதே கீழே வர வர like let's say Romania or அந்த மாதிரி Croatia அந்த மாதிரி countriesலாம் expenses are super low. So for me, நான் வெளியில எங்கேயாச்சும் போறேன், like ஒரு travel போறேன்னா it is always going to be hostels. So hostels வந்து I prefer because it's more safer and there will be multiple people, and you will get dorms. அதாவது வந்து 5 sharing 4 sharing அந்த மாதிரி dorms இருக்கும். So usually I take dorms, and then food வந்து if it is not that expensive country, I prefer to like get it outside, like up on the go. But Iceland was very expensive, so I like got Maggi packets, pasta packets, and I started cooking in the hostel. And then the cooking facilities la vechirpanga, and it's usually a good place. Hostel is a good place to find friends and ask around enga polam, எப்படி போனீங்க இன்னைக்கு, இது பாத்தீங்களா அது பாத்தீங்களா, like you make a conversation and like you get to go around. நாளைக்கு எங்க போலாங்கிற ஒரு ஐடியா வந்து you could like ஃபேமஸா இல்லாத பிளேசஸ் தவிர வேற எங்கேயாவது போலாமா அப்படிங்கறதெல்லாம் வந்து you gather information from hostels, and hostels themselves arrange some tours sometimes, and they have this maps, அந்த மாதிரி வந்து ஒரு புக்லெட் வச்சிருப்பாங்க. இட்ஸ் லைக் வெரி குட் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ். நான் எங்க போனாலும் ஹாஸ்டல் போறதுக்கான மெயின் ரீசன் இதுதான். ஒன் இஸ் சேஃப்டி இஃப் யூ டிராவல் சோலோ. The second thing is like you get information, you get friends, you get to meet random people, and it's not awkward. Like நீங்களா போய் பேசாம வந்து if you are in a setup where you can talk easily. So yeah, that's how I stay and that's how I travel.
The skydiving, அது என்ன டைப் ஆஃப் skydiving?
So skydiving la rendu vidha you can usually do. One is ஒரு வாட்டி ஜம்ப் பண்ணி மறந்துடலாம் அந்த மாதிரி. அந்த ஒரு வாட்டி ஜம்ப் பண்ணும்போது it's called tandem skydiving. பின்னாடி யாரோ ஒருத்தர் இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டர் இருப்பாங்க, அந்த பின்னாடி இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டரோட you jump. So it's very safer. நம்ம எதுவும் பண்ண தேவையில்லை, நம்ம குதிச்சா போதும், எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் பண்ணா போதும் அந்த மாதிரி. So I did that tandem skydive. Otherwise the other thing that you could do is a course. அந்த கோர்ஸ்ல வந்து 7 ஜம்ப்ஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க, and எல்லாமே நீங்க செப்பரேட் தான் பண்ண போறீங்க, தனியா தான் பண்ணணும். and there will be instructors jumping along with you. so ஏதாச்சும் ஒண்ணுனா they will இந்த parachute இது பண்றது அதெல்லாம் வந்து they will train you even before you go on the flight and jump. so அது வந்து one problem is it gets expensive. Every jump you need to pay. அது ஒரு பிரச்சனை வரும். இன்னொன்று வந்து like you need to do separately. The risk is higher. and 7 வாட்டி பண்ணதுல ஒரு வாட்டி எங்கேயாச்சும் போய் டெயில் போனு கால் போனு ஏதாவது உடச்சிக்க போறோம் அப்படிங்கிற அந்த ரிஸ்க் இஸ் ஆல்சோ ஹையர். ஸோ ஐ ஜஸ்ட் டிட் த tandem dive. Tandem dive is like பின்னாடி அதான் இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்டர் இருப்பாங்க. ஸோ பேசிக்லி யூ ஜஸ்ட் ஹோல்ட் ஆன் டு தெம் அண்ட் யூ ஜம்ப், அண்ட் பேராஷூட்டும் அவங்களே ஓப்பன் பண்ணிடுவாங்க. ஸோ தட் இஸ் அ வெரி நைஸ் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ்.
இது என்ன ஃப்ளைட்லயா?
So 13,000 feet வந்து they'll take you in a smaller flight, and then from there you just jump. and then ஒரு லெவலுக்கு மேல I think it's somewhere around 6,000 feet, so they open up the parachute and அதுக்கப்புறம் parachute you just come down.
பாராசூட்ல கண்ட்ரோல் இருக்கா?
எனக்கு கண்ட்ரோல் இருக்காது.
அவருக்கு இருக்குமா? அவருக்கு வச்சிருப்பாரு இல்லையா? பட்
so two parachutes usually ஒன்னு ஓபன் பண்ணலனா இன்னொன்னு வச்சிருப்பாங்க. so either or and ஒரு ஹைட்டுக்கு மேல அதுவா ஓபன் ஆயிடும். so நம்ம எதுவும் பண்ண தேவையில்லை. so that's how it works.
ஸ்பெசிபிக் பிளேஸ்ல லேண்ட் பண்றதுக்கு அந்த மாதிரி கண்ட்ரோல் தான்.
so they will have a very big landscape, and the landscapeல they will have marks. அந்த இடத்துல தான் லேண்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. அந்த இடத்துல தான் அவங்க
கரெக்ட்டா பண்ணிடுறாங்களா?
parachute வந்து you will have controls. இந்த பக்கம் போறதுக்கு ஒரு கண்ட்ரோல்.
that's what I'm asking. Good.
so இப்படி bend பண்ணா அந்த ஆங்கிள்ல போகும், அப்படி bend பண்ணா அந்த மாதிரி they have control, so you could do that and they will land on the correct spot.
Good, happy really. முடிச்சுக்கலாமா madam? Thank you, really good speech actually. You did a fluent, excellent actually. ரியலாவே உன்னோட ஏஜ்ல இருக்கிற பசங்க நான் நிறைய பேர் கேட்டிருக்கேன் பட் இம்மிடியட்லி ஷி செட், நான் கேட்ட வீட்டுக்கு வந்தா உடனே கேட்டேன், பிரியா நீ பேசுறியா அந்த மாதிரி விஷயம் அப்படின்னா, ஷி நெவர் செட் எனிதிங், இம்மிடியட்லி செட் ஓகே. இந்த மாதிரி யாரும் எனக்கு சொன்னதில்லை. அப்படியா அப்படின்னு யோசிப்பாங்க என்ன சப்ஜெக்ட், ஷி இம்மிடியட்லி செட். அதுதான் எனக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிச்சது பிரியா கிட்ட. So our appreciation and our wishes.
Thank you so
thank you. இன்னும் நீங்க நிறைய பார்க்கணும், நிறைய ஷேர் பண்ணணும். எங்களுக்குலாம் நாங்களும் பார்த்த மாதிரி ஒரு டிராவல் பண்ண மாதிரி இருக்கும். So happy. Thank you very much. Anybody close பண்ணிக்கலாமா?
வாழ்த்துக்கள்.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Priya. Have a wonderful life.
Thank you so much.
Our wishes. Okay.
All the very
best. All the best. Really happy. It was a wonderful speech. Okay, you did a wonderful speech. I didn't expect so many things you are going to deliver. Okay, you delivered a lot of things. Happy. Thank you. I'm disconnecting live.